I think also then as we start to look into like, all right, we have this taken care of. We have a starting point. We've done that gap analysis. We know how they got to that starting point. We know what their goal is. We've kind of had some conversation around the environment. That's when you can start to have those conversations around, okay, like here's the plan. We start to build a plan and we start to understand what needs to change. And something that I've found really important in this process is being able to interpret what people actually mean by their goals, because you and I, like, we understand the process. Like if you want to lose weight, okay, calories out greater than calories in, like less food, more activity, cool, easy. But people have these just goals that are not really based off of reality or understanding the process. So sometimes you need to understand what someone is saying by their goal, and in your mind kind of break that down into phases or steps that are going to put them in position to accomplish that goal. So like, I don't know, generally someone wants to lose some weight, put on some muscle. Okay, like what they think of in their mind is they're going to eat salads and they're going to do bicep curls. Like, all right, yeah, kind of, but there's more to it than just that. Like there's a process to each of these things. We're not just going to restrict calories down to nothing and then put you in the gym and have you do a bunch of bicep curls, because that's not how the body works. That's not how, biology works. That's not how we're going to get to this goal. It's not the most efficient way. So thinking about this, you need, as you're the one designing the program, you need to think about what is the most efficient and effective way to accomplish that goal. Because yes, it might be effective to have them eat no food and do bicep curls. They might lose weight, but that's not going to be the best way. Like adherence is going to suffer at a certain point. Like if you have them on 900 calories a day, how long can you realistically do that for? And then you have them in the gym working out hard. How long can they realistically do that for? Like they're going to feel beat up because they don't have the food to recover. They're going to feel run down. They're going to lose enjoyment or excitement around working out, which any of this stuff, I think the benefit to getting people results in the gym is that dopamine hit. Is that feeling good, like you've accomplished something, the endorphins that you're going to get from a workout when you perform well or you feel good, or you're able to do something that you haven't done before. So understanding like, yes, this might be this person's goal, and there's going to be ways that are more effective to get them there. There are going to be ways that are more efficient, but it's going to be a balancing act of what is the most efficient and effective way to get this person that I now have an understanding of how they got to this point in their physical competency and an understanding of the lifestyle and environmental things that are going to hang them up. How can I design something that is efficient and effective for them, that's based in reality, not based in, what's optimal or what's ideal, or they need to make these unrealistic changes to their life to be able to maintain, because that's not going to work. They're going to run into bottlenecks much sooner if that's the approach that you take. So you need to take the ideal approach, and then you need to fit that to what is realistic for that specific person. And there are going to be some people, like my favorite clients are the ones that the only gap we need to fill is education and direction. Like I need to give you the information that you need to be able to do this properly, and you're going to take that, you're going to absorb that information, and you're going to execute on it. Like fucking sick. Like that makes my job so easy, because you're going to understand like, okay, we're only going to restrict calories 300 we're only going to restrict 300 calories a day. We're going to put you in a moderate deficit, and you're going to lose a half a pound a week, and you're going to do that, and you're going to adhere to that, and we're going to have 3 days of exercises that we're going to go through, and we're going to do that until we don't see progress, and then we're going to make changes to that. Like if I can communicate that and they execute on it, sick. That's the perfect client. That's the ideal situation, because all you have to do is put the plan in place, and they're going to execute. But there's going to be a lot of people that, whatever it is, if it's something that they want to impress you, or they don't want to let you down, or they have an ego around what they're doing and they're resistant to change, like there's going to be these things that there might be communication around, or there might not be communication around it. You're going to have to interpret some of whatever your means of communication is with them, and then you're going to have to interpret what they're telling you through that, whether that's decreased performance in the gym, or the scale weight is not budging, or it's going up, or you notice that, after the weekend, like the scale weight's a little bit higher, and then throughout the week it kind of dwindles down and then it spikes up again. Like you need to be able to interpret some of these things that are a little less verbal, that aren't explicitly communicated, so that you can make changes based off of what you're seeing. And that's what the program is. The program is your ability as a coach to communicate with that client. And that's the application side of things. So being able to interpret and make it more efficient, make it more effective, and base it in reality, that's kind of one of the soft skills of coaching that you need to refine and you need to develop so that you can get people results regardless of where they're at and what their lifestyle factors are. Because and sometimes it is like some people do really well with direct communication, and that's something I appreciate in coaching. I don't like to beat around the bush, or I don't like to have to be like, fuck this. I know this person's going to go out this weekend and shit's going to be all messed up beginning of the week. And then I'm going to have to account for that. I like to be like, hey, like what happened this weekend? Like scale weight's higher, like your numbers are down, like you're using less weight, like what's going on? And have a conversation around that. But that style of communication isn't effective with everyone. So you can't approach everyone that way, or, that's how you weed out your clientele, is because you do approach everyone that way, and people that don't respond to that just don't come to you. But you're stifling your ability or your addressable market as a coach if you approach it in that way.
I think one of the things that programming, because I think we might even be glassing over something that you and I think that's so obvious, and we use the word communication a lot. But I think one of the keys in communicating an exercise program is giving your clients access to the program. I have found this is because there's a lot to that, right? Like I think we talked about the map is not the territory. Well, you have clients who don't know how to interpret the territory and don't know how to create a map. And I think giving them the exercise program that you've created for them helps them do both simultaneously. And I think that's the mark of like a really good coach, is they will give someone the program, share the program with them, because there's a couple of reasons why I think this is really important. One, it allows people to understand the nonlinear relationship of progress, right? If you have these things and you can draw these trend lines over time, you can be like, hey, look, we've seen this before. Remember on this exercise where we were accumulating too much fatigue and we deloaded, and you came back the week after and you fucking hit, an extra 3 reps or an extra 5 pounds or whatever the metric was. So that's the very act of then having access to it, being able to see the story of progress that you're both writing together over time, that allows them to understand the territory of training, right? Rather than just going in and being like, was that better? Was that worse? Like so many clients, especially, novice clients who don't know map or territory, will look at me like, was that good? In a couple of weeks, if I show them the program and I walk them through and they have access to it, and there's another thing I want to talk about the numbers and the metrics that we track, they're going to know whether it's good. And they're also going to know whether good or bad is good or bad, right? Because it's like someone will come in and then like with that one example of like, hey, we're 2 reps short this week. It could be a territory. Okay, sure. Yeah, we're just going to deload this next week. We're probably going to move this exercise down the order. We'll come back and revisit this in 2 weeks. And then now when we run into this again, I know what this is. I know what this is on the map. I know what this territory entails. And then from that, you end up starting to create, there's a big movement right now. And I like it. I just don't think the movement has evolved to where it's going to end up being. There's a big movement now in reinstating play into training, which I understand. And there's, we could go down many a rabbit hole around sort of the reactive nature of play, like, the sensory input components of it, just the joy you associate play with training. I think that's why you're starting to see a pickleball or paddleball being this emergent new fitness trend. That's why you've seen, rec league sports always be sort of at the forefront. There is something intangible, maybe intangibility is just based off of our understanding, but play is something that's emergent in the fitness culture. We see this CrossFit to a certain degree, but I think what CrossFit does better and what things like High Rocks are now benefiting from, and I think you as a trainer need to tap into this, is on the other end, or the evolution of play as a part of training, is competition, right? And now if you're in the one-to-one PT space, that competition is with yourself. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, the program that you've written and shared with your client and sat down and explained sort of the non-linearity of the progress of the program, the malleability and adaptability of the program, you start to see map and territory come together. But you also start to see an air of competition start to exist within themselves, right? Like, and this is every data point has the potential. And I would argue that any data point that doesn't have the potential is something that probably shouldn't be tracked to begin with. Every data point that you track should have the potential to be something that you can better every single time. Because, sometimes, look, you're going to stack L's and you're going to stack a lot of them, but there's always a win to be found, right? Like, even if it's, and I had this conversation with someone the other day, and we've discussed it on the podcast, like, there are days where the logbook's not going to move, but it's still the most amount of sessions in your life that you've done that exercise at that weight, right? You've now done a complete other bout of this where prior to last week and this week not existing, you had not done that. So you have now done it. You have now done an entire unit of work that you have not done before. And that will fall into the story of progress over time. So, metric tracking, it can get a little far, and we need to be careful about the validity. So metrics and KPIs need to really follow two things. They need to track what we think they're tracking, and they need to be easily accessible, right? And there's a process to this, right? Like we with the level 3, one of the things that we are concerning ourselves with is the 40-yard dash time. And I love the 40-yard dash, especially when the level 3 is not about training athletes. It's about training in high stakes environment, which a lot of people don't realize that every environment that they train in, regardless if you run an online business or if you run an in-person business at your own gym, one to many, one to small group training, whatever, if you're dealing with people in this industry and you want to make an impact, you have to understand that we work in a high stakes environment and you need to treat it as such.